how are you? Shall we study Bible together? Before we study, shall we pray? Father in heaven, please teach us your word. Thank you. Just pray. Amen. All right. Now, we have been studying the book of Exodus, and today we're going to study the entire chapter 35, the Exodus 35, verse 1 to 35, and the title is Giving Heart. And as you know, that we have studied Exodus this far, and then the beginning part of the Exodus, we learn that God saved Israel from the Egypt. They are from the slavery in Egypt. Then the Israeli came to the Mount Sinai, and that's where God gave them law. Now, and then they made a covenant with God that they will keep the law. However, as you recall, they quickly disobeyed God, and then they made idol, the golden calf. Now, God get very upset. So Moses broke the two rocks that God gave. Then what we learn later is they had to make another covenant with God. God gave two sets of tablets and stone tablets. And as Moses received the two tablets and came to the people, Moses' face was shining. That's what we have learned. And now from the chapter 35 to chapter 40, after they made the second covenant, after they complete the covenant, the chapter 35 to chapter 40 in the Exodus is really mostly the talking about building the tabernacle. Then the chapter 35 is really the preparation for building the tabernacle. Shall we read from the chapter 35 verse 1 and until 3? Let me read Exodus chapter 35 verse 1 to 3. Moses assembled the whole community of the Israelites and said to them, "These are the things that the Lord has commanded you to do. In 6 days your work may be done, but on the seventh day there must be a holy day for you, a Sabbath of the complete rest to the Lord. Anyone who does work on it will be put to death. You must not kindle a fire in any of your homes on the Sabbath day." Now, it's very interesting that God commanded Moses to tell the Israeli to start building the tabernacle. However, the first things God mentioned to them was to keep the Sabbath. Now, what is a Sabbath? Sabbath is, as you know, the 6 days you work, and seventh day is a holy day. Well, it's a holiday, or it's a day of the rest, and that is a day that you're supposed to have the fellowship with God. That is the day that you rest and you do not work, and this is the day that you're going to have a fellowship with God. And the reason was that because God made the whole earth in the 6 days, and seventh day He rested, and He actually kind of observed His creation, and it was everything good. He said, "Wow, this is so good." And do you remember the sixth day that He already made a human? So it was a day that together with a human, that we celebrate and enjoy God's creation. It is a day that we fellowship with God. It is a day that we human was so amazed about God's whole creation, and we kind of praise God. That is a day to praise God. That is say, "Wow, this is wonderful, Lord," and then we're going to enjoy together with all the God's creation. And this is the day that it's really have a wonderful time, like a family kind of reunion time, kind of with God. And so this is very important. And then keeping the Sabbath, this command it showed up in the Bible many times, which means the time with us, the fellowship with God, it's absolutely important time for God. For Him, this is absolutely important issue. Now, when we read the book of Ezekiel, chapter 20, verse 12 and 13, that God even revealed how he feels about the Sabbath. Let me read Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 12 and 13. I also gave them my Sabbaths as a reminder of our relationship, so that they will know that I, the Lord, sanctify them. But the house of Israel rebelled against me in the wilderness. They did not follow my statute, and they rejected my regulations. The one who obeys them will live by them. And they utterly discredited my Sabbaths. So I decided to pour out my rage on them in the wilderness and destroy them. Now that is a very interesting. The Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 12 and 13 is really like show God's feeling about Sabbath. Sabbath is so important to him, and this is the day to have a fellowship with God. This is the time that God commanded them to make a tabernacle, but as they're going to make tabernacle, the God telling them the most important things is really having our God in the center of our life, and the continuous relationship with God is the most important. Whatever we do, So that is the first command he said, and also interesting that he said, "Do not kindle the fire." Now, why that? I mean, this probably apparently the word work, do not work. That work, the Hebrew there are two different words. I think one is called avad, and other one's called melachan. I think that's how you pronounce. But the avodak, which means it's a work, but it means just mostly just kind of moving around. But then the word being used for here to not to work, and that work is melachan, which is different word, and that is meant more like a business. So basically, God command during the Sabbath, you should not do business. So which means do not have a kindle the fire must mean like you should not kindle the fire to make money, for some kind, maybe doing like a restaurant kind of things, maybe. So either way, this is the day you take a rest and do not do business, and then this is the day you're going to have a fellowship with God. Now, let me read the verse, following verse 35, 4 and 9. Moses to whole community of the Israel. This is the word that the Lord has commanded. Take an offering of the Lord. Let everyone who has willing heart bring an offering to the Lord. Gold, silver, bronze, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, fine linen, goat's hair, ram skins dyed red, fine leather, acacia wood, olive oil for the light, spice for the anointed oil, and for the fragrant incense, onyx stone, and other gems for mounting on the ephod and the breastplate. Now it's very interesting that now here the God command asked them to bring the material to make a tabernacle. But however, this is not the, how I say, imperative, or like this is not like it is not like they have to do it. It's more like it's a voluntary. Basically, the main focus is whoever has a willing heart. It's more like almost like it feels like a free will that God is asking them that whoever wanted to do, that part is very important to God, the willingness of the heart. I think whatever we do to God for Him, that He look at our heart and our intentions. So question is, I think, do we love God from our heart? That seems like God is watching and looking. This is very important. So God asks first, bring the material to build the tabernacle. And let me read in verse 10 to 19. Every skilled person among you is to come and make all that the Lord has commanded. the tabernacle with its tent, its covering, its clasps, the frames, its crossbar, its posts, and its bases, the ark with the posts, the anointed lid, and the atonement lid, and the special curtain that conceals it, the table with its poles and all its vessel, and the bread of the presence, the lampstand for the lights and its accessory, the lamps and oil for the lights, and the altar of the incense with its pole, the anointing oil and the flagon incense, the hanging of the door at the entrance of the tabernacle, the altar for the burnt offering with its bronze grating that is on it, the pole and all its utensil, and the large basin and its pedestal, the hanging of the courtyard, its posts and its base, and the curtain of the gateway to the courtyard, tent pegs for the tabernacle, and tent pegs for the courtyard and their ropes, the woven garment for the serving in the holy place, the holy garment for Aaron the priest, and the garments for his sons to minister as priests. Wow, that was a long list. But really, now after God told them to bring material willingly, now God asked him to build all the things, the detailed things about each item, the furnitures, and everything about the tabernacle. And again, his emphasis is a willing heart. The whoever willing to do, come and build the tabernacle. Now, probably I wonder why that list is so long. It's really encompass everything that we have talked about. It's all the material, all the really the items in tabernacle is listed here. And why? Well, maybe because Israeli after this they moved around. Next 40, they didn't know, but next 40 years they're gonna traveling around, and every time they move, probably this can be a checklist, can be. But either way, they listed everything they need here, and and then also that it is very important to know that even to build the tabernacle, God is looking for the willing heart. Now, I have a kind of interesting story to tell you there about the offering. I heard there was a church in the United States. The preacher told people that if you bring the money to church, God will bless them. And maybe some of you heard that kind of a message before. And then I heard there's one man, he's kind of rich guy. He decided to give lots donation to church, offering to church, and then but however his business goes sour. It didn't go well, so he actually sued the church, and the minister. That he said that if you give the offering, you will be prosper. But I wonder how God look at it. I think God look at this man's heart and his intentions, and probably that is why maybe God didn't let him business goes well. Maybe because his intentions wrong. His intention he wanted to make more money. But see, God does not need our money. God is the one made create this entire universe. He doesn't need even penny from us. It's not that he needs or he wants, but he wants our heart. And not only that, all the things we give to God is actually God is the one give to us first. Then we give some part. And our God is such a kind God that he gave us everything we need. And he actually kind of suggests us to give only 10% of what he has given. So majority, like 90%, the things that he asks us to use that for yourself. So this is a very kind God. I mean, he's kind of giving us only 10% as kind of a guideline for us to get to use that for his glory. But then originally 100% is actually his anyway. That's originally came from him. And then so we kind of forgot about that sometimes. So now God told them to bring the material, and then build this with a willing heart. And now the verse 20 to verse 29 at the verse 20, that this Israeli, once they went back to home, and then they brought that material to the Moses. Let me read the verse 20 and then 24 first. So the whole community of Israel went out from the presence of Moses. Everyone whose heart stirred up to action, and everyone whose spirit was willing, came and brought the offering for the Lord, for the work of the tent of meeting, for all its service, and for the holy garment. They came, men and women alike, all who had willing heart. They brought brooches, earrings, rings, and ornaments, all kinds of gold, jewelry, and everyone came who waved offering of the gold to the Lord. Everyone who had blue, purple, or scarlet yarn, fine linen, goat's hair, ram skins, dry red, or fine leather, brought them. Everyone making an offering of silver or bronze brought it as an offering to the Lord, and everyone who had acacia wood for any work of the service brought it. Now it's very interesting that they went back to home, and they actually brought a bunch of every material necessary, the bunch of material for this, and then they even took their earrings and the brooches, all the things they put into the clothes, bring it to make a gold and silver. Do you remember that when they made a golden calf, that was the same kind of way that they did, that they actually made golden calf from the earrings and stuff. But originally, these earrings came from Egypt. When they left Egypt, they asked an Egyptian neighbor, and they actually snatched the treasure from Egypt. But that treasure itself was really prepared by God 400 years before the time of Joseph, that God made the Egypt so rich that everybody started bringing the gold and silver to Egypt to buy the food. Do you remember that Joseph's brothers? They brought the silvers, but then Joseph told them to put the silver back on their donkey. Then they're surprised. So that is just one example. So all the gold and silver being accumulated in Egypt, and that's why Egyptian has so much gold. And then God prepared all that, and then they actually took all the golds, many golds from the Egypt, and now they use that to make a tabernacle. God really prepared all the material for them, and then interesting that they actually did it. Indeed, brought it. Now, I just have a little question to you. Have you ever thought about it would be nice to have lots of money? What I'm saying is this: that when I used to live in the United States, every week you will see on the highway, when you drive on the highway, you will see the billboard, you will see the little signs, and you'll see the Powerball, or mega big balls, and the amount. Sometimes there's lots carryover, and then very easily you go like hundreds or 200 or 300 millions on a sign there. Quite often I kind of tempted to, if I won $250 million, man. Then I remember one day I was driving with a minister, a pastor at the church, and then I asked them, what do you think if we got the $300 million, what you gonna do? And then pastor immediately said, I want to buy the brand new car, and then very interesting. But then I told him, well, aren't you supposed to use that for church? And I said, yeah. But see, we really wanted our money. We really think if we have our money, all problems being solved. If we have our money, we can do this, we can do that. But that's really the same way that we're really depending on money to be happy. Is that really what God wants? I think we should be happy because we're with God, rather than just trusting money, or if we trust in money to bring the happiness, I think that itself is wrong, I think. But either way, the Israeli, they brought the treasure back to God, but originally God is the one provided everything for them, and they had more than what they need. And let me move on to the verse 35, next verse, okay, 25 and 26. Every woman who was skilled spun with her hands and brought what she had spun, blue, purple, or scarlet yarn, for fine linen, and all the women whose heart was stirring them to action and who were skilled spun gold hair. Now that is interesting. The verse 25 to 26 is kind of my favorite part, because here is a ladies. Apparently they just didn't have those things to bring, but they actually use their own hand to build something. Like they actually use well, see, this tabernacle has lots cloth and the decoration that you need. So these ladies really use their hand to make yarns and fine linens, and then they actually brought it. And then the key emphasis here also their willingness, even though they may not have material to bring it, but then they actually had the skill to make some. Then so they actually made it and then just brought it to the place. I have seen quite often that there's some people like that at the church too. Like some example, like some church every Sunday, somebody decorate beautiful flower arrangement at the altar. That's very nice. I mean, it's not like only money, but the skill you can really use for God. And let me read in verse 27, 29. The leader brought onyx stone and other gems to mount it for the ephod and the breastplate, and spices and olive oil for the lights, for the anointing oil, and for the fragrant incense. The Israeli brought a free will offering to the Lord, every man and woman whose heart was willing to bring material for all the work that the Lord through Moses had commanded them to do. So they actually brought everything they need, and here is a gemstone. It's kind of like rich people brought the gemstones and the oils and fragrance. Those are very expensive. So here, again, the emphasis is willingness. We can see it is not the amount you brought, or it's whether you're poor or you don't have a material to bring, but you may have a skill, or you're rich that you can bring it a good product. But that doesn't matter how much you offer. It is not the amount, but the willing heart. It does count. Remember that Jesus was sitting at the front of the offering chamber, and then people brought the bunch of offering. But Jesus was so impressed with the one widow. She only brought the 2 lepta coin. And that's her money for her, maybe living expense. And so Jesus said, "Oh, she brought more than anybody else." And why? Because she has her heart that Jesus was watching. That she really wanted God to serve God by offering the 2 lepta coin. It is not the really amount that you will count, because God doesn't need our money, but it's our heart, and that's how we can please God. And let's move on to the verse 30 and 33. Moses said to Israel, "See, the Lord has chosen Bezalel, son of Uri, the son of Hur, the tribe of Judah. He has filled him with the Spirit of God, with skill, with understanding, with the knowledge, and in all kinds of work, to design artistic design, to work in gold, in silver, and bronze, and in cutting stones for their setting, and in cutting wood, to do work in every artistic craft." Now here is a guy named Bezalel, and really we can tell that God is the one prepare even the people and the skill for that person to do. All the skill and the ability that God gave a person to really complete his work. And now do you know the name Bezalel means? The Bezalel, El means God. So some of you probably guessed it. The Bezalel really means is a God's shadow. Really, there's sometimes we have something called a word called the shadow warrior, which means somebody really work as God, but he is not God, but he is kind of a shadow of God. And so Bezalel name means shadow of God. This guy that received the Spirit, and then the Spirit of God actually gave the talent and the gift. Now, at the church, our age, our era is the same. God through the Holy Spirit, that God gave every single Christian different gift and ability to serve God, and so definitely He did that for us to serve Him. And then here is God prepared the person. Now let me read verse 34 to 35. And he has put it in his heart to teach. He and Oholiab, son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan. He has filled them with the skill to do all kinds of work as craftsmen, as designer, as employers in the blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and in fine linen, and as woven. They were craftsmen in all the work and artistic designer. There's another guy's name, Oholiab, and this is another person and to support too. And then the Oholiab is also being talented, and God gave the talent to really do all the fine detail artistic work. More likely, Bezalel is a main leader. He's more like a main construction manager, or like a general manager, I would say. And then maybe Oholiab is really like a subordinate, maybe. But either way, these two persons, the name being mentioned. Now, the name Oholiab, do you know what that meant? The Oholiab means father. So Oholiab means a father's tabernacle, father's tent, father's house. So it's very interesting, but just knowing that the name of these two men, the one called God's shadow, that he's the one really like a shadow warrior, that he really work as really the God is doing his own work, and to make father's house, which means Oholiab is the name. So here is the two men God really prepared for them to do service. This type of free will offering is also we see in the New Testament. Now, some of you probably wonder that why this is so important, because in the Old Testament time, the God demand to bring many sacrificial animal to the temple. But then the sacrificial animal, that part of the command was fulfilled by ultimate sacrifice of the Jesus Christ on the cross. So in the church era, that we do not have to really bring the animal offering, because actually Jesus became the ultimate offering. But however, the free will offering still remain. It is important for as a Christian to bring the free will, but this is a free will of a willingness to give to the church. It's not a grudge against a church, or like some of you very difficult to bring the money, because the money is very important for our life. But then we have to understand the original money is actually the God is the one gave everything, and our God is so nice that He actually suggests us to keep about majority of a blessing He gave to us, like a 90% is He said that go ahead and use for yourself. But about 10%, this is just a guideline, yes, but in about 10%, you should consider to use that really for God. And this is really something that God is really looking for. This that it's not the amount. You can give more than 10 if you want to, and if you can. But then God look at our willing heart, how we feel about giving to God, and that is a very important. Let me read in 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 7 and 8. In the New Testament, gave us a very similar concept about giving to God. 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 7 and 8. Each one of you should give just as he has decided in his heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, because God loves the cheerful giver. And God is able to make all grace overflow to you, so that because you have enough of everything in every way at all times, you will overflow in every good work. This is a very clear statement that we really should give our work with a willing heart. It's not reluctant, or like it's not like we have to. It is more like we want to. And also as we do, that God is the one, we never forget that God is the one actually gave us every blessing to begin with. That 100% the things we have is not really ours, it's original, it was His. He just allowed us to manage His riches. So basically, everything we have, our life and everything include, is His anyway. And but the question is, do we have a willing to use that for His own glory? And then the verse 9 and 10, let me continue the 2 Corinthians chapter 9 and 10. Just as it is written, He has scattered widely, He has given to poor, His righteousness remains forever. Now God, who provides seed for the sower and bread for food, will provide and multiply your supply of the seeds and will cause the harvest of your righteousness to grow. It's very interesting that verse 9 and 10 indicate that when we gave offering, it's not only to church, but to the poor, which means how we can use money, actually it's originally God's money, to really glorify Him is us really offer to the money the person who are needy. And as we did it, it's the Bible clearly indicating in the verse 9, it said that eternally that being recorded, which will be a really wonderful memory for us. But it is the eternal memory, which is God going to remember forever about the things we have done and the wonderful things we have done, like donations we did to needy people, and that become eternal, eternal record, which is wonderful. And then most of all, the things we actually gave is actually God is able to provide for that stuff. That if you plant a seed, if you're sower, the God is the one going to provide enough seed to do that. All the supplies and all the needs, originally God is the one going to provide. And so this is very important that God is the one really provide the things for us to even offer. It is not our money to begin with. And then, but the key issue is willingness part. As a minister right now, is that I receive many phone calls sometimes that people telling me that they don't have a peace in their heart, and they ask me, "Hey, Pastor, how can you receive the peace?" And even after they pray to God, they still don't have a peace in their heart. And then I would just wonder why. What should I tell these people that telling that they don't have a peaceful heart even though they pray? But then I read some article. This is one person's testimony, and this person I think had some kind of a handicapped children was born to his family, and he was so kind of sad. He prayed, especially he was sad that his children now the handicap, and he feels so sorry for that person, his son or daughter. But then he eventually decided to give himself to this issue about the handicap. He actually made the kind of institution for the taking care of the handicapped person. And more he realized, he really gave his money and his time to really this issue, that he had a tremendous peace in him. Which means, when we really having problem, we start to pray. But then the more we really actually give to that problems, give to God, we end up with lots of peace. And God actually provides things we need. Let me read the 1 John chapter 3, verse 16 and 20 to end today's message. 1 John chapter 3, verse 16 and 22. This is how we know that love is Jesus Christ laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our life for our brothers and sisters. If anyone has material possession and sees a brother or sisters in need but has no pity on them, how can the love of God be in that person? Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with action and in truth. This is how we know that we belong to truth and how we set our hearts at rest in His presence. in our heart condemn us, we know, if our heart condemn us, we know that God is greater than our hearts, and He knows everything. Dear friends, if our hearts do not condemn us, we have confidence before God and receive from Him anything we ask, because we keep His commands and do what pleases Him. A very, very powerful statement, the First John chapter 3. Now, it clearly indicate that, as we give, that God gave us a peace. And not only that, the more we give, God will really provide the things we need. And not only that, we can ask God, and whatever the prayer we pray for, this type of prayer, that meet with God's will, willingness, and God's mind, that this will be fulfilled. God will give us abundantly the blessing that we can give more. And that is really the principle. The most important principle is our willingness and trust in God. And more we give, more peace we have. And here is Israeli was learned. The first things that God told them, that first of all, you have to keep the Sabbath with God, which means that you have to put the God in the center of your life. The fellowship with God is the most important things in your life. But then He asked questions, your willingness to really serve Him and bring the material offering to Him. And then you're willing to serve Him. And more you do, you have more peace in you. This is a very important factor on our Christian life. So hopefully we can continue to offer God and have a peace. Shall we pray? Father in heaven, thank you for today's message. And Israeli, really, this time, they humbly brought the things to you willingly. And Lord, there are, anything we do on this earth, and as through our action, please let us, please you really shine through our life, your glory to others, Lord. Thank you for this opportunity. Just to pray. Amen. All right, you take care. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.